Okay, hello and welcome to today's video. So recently, Nintendo put up a job listing for a terrain designer for Breath of the Wild 2, along with a developer interview in regards to the game and the job position. I won't go over the whole thing, as that'll take quite a while and most of it isn't of much value. However, Satoshi Takizawa, sorry if I said that wrong, said that they're working hard on a sequel, and although I can't reveal any more currently, they are looking for more people to help, so they decided to recruit a new terrain designer. As a result, we can infer that they will indeed be making new terrain for a sequel, otherwise why would they need a new terrain designer? Previously it was unknown as to whether or not this would happen, as well, Aonuma said he wanted the sequel to take place in the same world as Breath of the Wild 1, so if it's in the same world, would we be getting new terrain or not, you know? It's hard to tell, but it seems we will be now based on this. Anyway though, today I'm here to discuss what we could potentially get in terms of terrain in the sequel, and what my personal hopes and thoughts are in regards to it. Okay, so the first option to consider, and also the easiest I might add, is how they might just create a completely brand new world for a sequel to take place in. Fully new terrain, nothing old. I don't see this as too likely because this would undoubtedly take the longest to make compared to anything else, however would also no doubt be the best of the options in terms of the final game. Of course there's still the fact that Aonuma said it'd be in the same world, however, there could have simply been a change of opinion in my development team between June and now, you know? It's been quite a while. In fact, if they did change their minds, it would definitely explain why they're hiring for a new terrain designer. Of course, we do need to bear in mind that if they were making an entire new world, they'd probably hire more than just one terrain designer, you'd have thought. So maybe they're not making a full-on new world, and I'm just being a bit hopeful, but well, regardless of whether or not they actually do this, I'd be really happy if they do. Anyway, jumping from one end of the scale to the other, let's look at the complete opposite option. Nintendo might not be making a new overworld at all, but rather sticking with the current one. You might ask, but why are they hiring a terrain designer then? Well, that could easily be explained. Either they may have had a terrain designer leave the development team and they need a new one, or they could just be adding more to their overworld and they need a new terrain designer. However, I'll get onto that second point in a bit. To be perfectly honest, I wouldn't be too happy if it was literally just the original overworld. I mean, yeah, it's a good overworld and the game would still be fun, but it'd feel a bit rushed to me and we're already used to it, you know? I'd rather just wait two more years, added on to however long it takes them, for a new overworld. And it probably wouldn't even take 2 years to make one. Less than a year, I'd have thought. Development-wise though, this option would certainly be possible. The less time they have to put into this, the more they can put into other things, or even just release the game sooner, which obviously is a bonus, which is probably the main reason they do it if they are going to do it. Despite that though, I doubt Nintendo are pressing them to a specific deadline very strongly, since, well, they delayed Animal Crossing to avoid crunch on the workers, so they really don't seem to care about how long it takes them to get a game out. They just want to get it out. As I briefly mentioned earlier, there is of course the possibility that they might also be adding new stuff onto the current overworld, rather than just having the current overworld. If they're gonna go with the current overworld, then I'd really like to see them adding stuff on at a minimum. I personally consider this the most likely option, since it'd allow them to give us a brand new experience, but also cut down on development time, and it'd match Aonuma's statement. Anyway though, let's speculate on what they could add if they are gonna do this. An idea that jumped straight to my mind is caves. Caves have always had a big presence in Zelda games, however in Breath of the Wild, they were very limited. There was only a few of them, and they barely went underground at all. Despite this, the trailer for the sequel clearly takes place underground, in some sort of cave or mining facility maybe. For this reason I could definitely see caves being added to the game, and well, think about it. It'd allow a development team to add a very large amount of content to the game, but without modifying the current world too much and still keeping it. There's only one thing I would not like with this at all. Bringing back caves would inevitably bring back Skulltulas, and well, I can't stand spiders. Please no. Right though, another obvious option is actually expanding the borders of the current world map. When you reach the world border, you can clearly see land stretching off far into a distance on the other side of a large cliff, or if you're in the southeast you can see a never-ending ocean. I could easily see them simply bridging across the cliff, allowing access to a whole new area with tons of new content, but still having the old Hyrule to fully explore as well. Or maybe allowing access to a whole new sea travel area like from Wind Waker, where you can go find new land on a boat and stuff. That'd also be really cool. Regardless of how they do it though, expanding the borders is definitely something I'd really like to see done. Whether or not they expand the borders, they're still going to need to do something about the main overworld to make it feel new or different. I feel there's a lot of options here as well. For example, an idea I discussed in last week's video, check the card out in the top if you want to watch it, was the option of the game being far ahead into the future or back in the past. This would allow them to keep the same world, but with really big changes applied, so they wouldn't have to do too much in terms of development, but they'd still have to do some. Going along the same lines, perhaps an earthquake could happen to Hyrule, whilst the castle's rising out the ground in the trailer, leading to all sorts of completely weird and bizarre changes to the land. I don't know, anything really. Or one which I've seen a lot of people mention, which I'd really like too, to be honest, is underwater swimming. You've had underwater swimming in a lot of Zelda games like Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, such forth, but it wasn't in Breath of the Wild at all. I understand why. There's a massive amount of water in the world, and going underwater would add a ton onto the development time for the world, but now that they're making the sequel and presumably using the same overworld, if they are indeed using the same overworld, they could easily add that, and it would add quite a lot to the world, make it stand out a lot more in terms of exploration. It would give you reasons to go back to areas you've already been to in Breath of the Wild 1. However, there's one thing I don't know how they'd do if they did do this. The ocean. What's to stop you just swimming away forever? Yeah, they could add a border, but I think that'd feel especially weird underwater. Like, I don't know about you, but just swimming and then suddenly you hit a wall, but there's not a wall there. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, there's no way for us to know at all, and this is honestly all just speculation based on what details we have actually been given, if any. But well, to be perfectly honest, I enjoy it, and I guess you enjoy it if you've watched this far, so who gives one? If you did enjoy this, then consider liking and subscribing to help the channel. Thanks for watching this week's video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.